I'm Hoshii. I'm just going to give you a few tips on if you want to start learning Japanese or if you're already learning it and you want some help. Alright, so as everyone always says, you have to practice a lot. It's not going to be easy at the start, but once you get the hang of it, it just flows a lot more and you'll be able to pick other things up really quickly once you do get the hang of it. And it's really easy for English speakers, I think, because there's nothing that they can't say, that they can say that we can't. So there's nothing really out of our voice range or anything like that. What I do for practicing is I watch a lot of anime, which is really good to do. You can also practice speaking with friends as well. I usually try and do that with Japanese friends just because I ask them to correct me and stuff. To practice your writing and reading also, just read some manga and stuff like just Death Note or whatever, and you can just go through that because there's not very many hard kanji or anything, and sometimes it's also got the hiragana at the top. You can also practice writing kanji in a kanji book. I'll show you guys that if I can find it somewhere. So that's my kanji book. Just go through. I wrote all the ones in English and then all the Japanese on here. I use this as a bookmark to kind of go over so I couldn't see what I've already written, so I can just write it off the top of my head. And you can just kind of do this on the train or the bus or whatever when you go into school or work. That really helps to practice your writing because it's a lot easier to remember the kanjis than write it. So if you're doing a kanji test or something like that, then that's a really good way to remember all the kanji you need. So with the hiragana and katakana alphabets, they are pretty simple to remember. You just need to kind of think of ways to remember each one. Katakana is a bit harder because you don't use that as much, but if you're writing words a lot, I find that you can remember them a lot easier if you just repetitively write it all the time. For example, I've written Australia that many times that I can just remember it off by heart now, and now I know all the katakana in that word as well as everything else now. But like when I was starting off, that was what helped me remember Australia, just writing it heaps and heaps of times. Go to Japan. Seriously, this is the best thing you can do to help your Japanese. Order things in Japanese, make new friends, buy tickets, book hotels, anything, you name it, just go. You can also read a bunch of stuff, look at the kanji at the train stations and stuff like that. It's so useful, obviously, but it's the best way to learn Japanese, is to immerse yourself in it. I even took my skateboard to Japan, and that really helped as well to make more friends. I just bought my skateboard and saw some dudes skating a garden or something, and then I was like, oh, do you mind if I skate with you? And they're like, yeah man, come back tomorrow. I'll take you to a skate park or whatever. And I made good friends with them and hung out with them all the time. And they didn't know a word of English, so it was really good to practice my Japanese. And I was there for about 3 months, and by the time I came back, I was thinking in Japanese in my head. So that's kind of what people strive for, and it's kind of what gets you over that hump between, having to translate in your head from English back to Japanese and Japanese back to English and stuff. Someone can just talk to you in Japanese, you can understand them, and then straight back, you don't have to translate it, you can speak back Japanese. So I did that in 3 months, but it might take people a bit longer because I've been studying it a bit before then, or it might even take shorter time than that. But yeah, definitely go to Japan if you're studying Japanese. I don't know why you wouldn't if you don't, but anyway, take classes as well. This will make sure that you are not only good in your speaking, but your reading, writing, and listening as well. And you also get, textbooks and CDs and, other writing textbooks as well. And you'll also have tests to make sure that you're doing stuff on time, so that means you'll practice as well. Use the time you have with the Japanese native speaker. Hopefully you'll have one as your teacher. I actually find that it's better for me being taught by someone who speaks Japanese as a second language because they understand how it is for me to not know Japanese as a first language, if you get what I'm saying. So they kind of relate to how I learn it as well, because they have gone through that. I would say also learn about the culture. That'll really help you to kind of understand words, because there are some words that don't really translate very well, and also the sentence structure is pretty much opposite to English. You can also understand kind of older words and traditional words, as well as the new pop culture kind of like slang. Also, another tip, if you're studying Japanese, people are going to go, like, when people ask you what you do and you say you study Japanese, everyone's going to be like, oh my god, no way! It's good to be prepared for if someone say something in Japanese. So what I usually say is, このノートに名前を書かれた人間は死ぬ. That's from my favorite anime, just from Death Note. I'll write it down in the description if you want to say that as well. Just as long as it kind of flows, like you could say, something like, naniをいってほしいですか? これはよろしいですか? That means, what do you want me to say? Is this alright? I could put that down in the description. Just say anything really, like as long as it's kind of not, one or two words, maybe a couple of words, like maybe Nihonに行ったことがあります. That means I have been to Japan. I don't know, whatever you want to say. That's pretty much all the tips I have right now. So there's not much about learning actual Japanese. This is all kind of, if you're thinking about it, or if you're actually learning Japanese at the moment, yeah, just practice and keep it up, and definitely be able to speak Japanese, and you'll be able to get around Japan, no worries at all. Thanks.